This one is one of the videos that are rare to see out there. Almost all APIs in JavaScript nowadays support cancellation operations. In this class, I brought a very useful example. I was watching some series on a platform that I love, and I found a horrible experience there when searching for titles. When I write the first 3 characters, it freezes and I cannot keep typing until the title list is loaded. On one side, I have the search bar, and in another, I have the title list that is loaded according to the requests. If they split the search and the titles list into different processes, one wouldn't block another. And if you think about it, that's the best scenario to use threads out there. Well, even though they split the applications into different processes, when I type 3 characters, they go to the same server and download the first 20 titles for me. If I type 6 characters, they would make another request right after the first. So the screen must wait for the first request to load and render items, and then make the new request with my 6 characters. Load into a screen and render it again. Have you noticed the problem? The search is making a lot of unnecessary requests to the server, and that could cost a lot for the user experience and the server to process them all. The best approach in this case is, if a request is in progress and the user wanted to make another one, we abort the current request. Thus, we abort all rendering and loading processes and just make the last request go through. The server wouldn't need to process the full request. We save memory, we save user experience, and that's beautiful. And this case is what we are gonna approach today. We are gonna consume a web API as a string and let the user abort operations whenever they want. You will also use a nice library that allows us writing beautiful user interfaces on the terminal. Believe it or not, we're gonna build a clickable button in the terminal. How crazy is that? Sick of just listening about it? Time to get hands-on. Let's close all the files. And finally, our last class on this module. So final project consuming strings. So here I'm gonna go to the 4th. And in this case, as we are doing something more complex, I'm gonna start a new project, a Node.js project. I'll put type module. Well, we're gonna have 2 different projects. We're gonna have the server that we're gonna consume data, and the UI where we're gonna put the terminal and everything else. So I'm gonna create 2 here, server and UI, okay? I will follow the same approach that we've been using later, creating a source file and so on. So I'm gonna put here node. I'm gonna use the watch flag. Let's see if the watch flag is ready to use here. Yeah, the watch is working here. Okay, the UI, it's gonna be on the source index, and the server, it's gonna be in the same folder. Okay, so let's create this folder and both files. So index.js and server.js. Nice. So if you go npm run start UI, it's working fine, and start server. Nice. So we're gonna start working on the server. Okay, so the server here, it's gonna be something very simple. It's just to reproduce data as stream so we can consume it later. Let's create from node HTTP without any frameworks. We're gonna create our server, get the request, the response. We're gonna listen to a folder, or to a port in this case. And I'm gonna put a console.log running at 3000. Okay, so I'm gonna create a async generator here to act as our readable function here. Okay, well, I'm gonna use the same idea we used in the last class, to use the interval. Node timers promises set interval, and we're gonna consume it exactly the way we've done in the last one. So every 200 seconds. We could actually decrease this value later. Just let's make work this way, and then we're gonna make it better. All right, so I'm gonna create a counter here with 0, and then I'm gonna generate a JSON object already stringified with an ID. So let's use our node crypto random UID to generate our ID. Okay, and just a name. So it's gonna be, I don't know, Eric dash, and we put some date now, just we can see every value change. Okay, well, after it, I'm gonna just yield this value so we can consume it on demand. And if our counter reached 600, we're gonna break this one. Okay, break. And just to keep seeing the time or the items being consumed, I'm gonna put just item sent here on the count, so we can see on the logs all the data being counted. Okay, well, as we've done in the last class, let's import the readable string from node string, and we're gonna use readable from our readable, so it's gonna be full featured with our readable string, and I'm gonna pipe everything to response. Okay, let's see, our code is here. I'm gonna duplicate this one, and I'm gonna run the curl dash n to run as a string on localhost 3000, so we can see all the values there. Okay, well, I just want to make something different here. I think it's gonna be better if we break lines. Concat dash n, and let's run the curl again, so we can see breaking lines. But still, I'm gonna keep this one here, so if you want to run the code later, so you can know. Well, let's comment here why I added a break line here. So node by default controls the back pressure. Okay, so if you are trying to send too much data, it's gonna be hold and then jump and send all the data later. So the dash n will help us to split the chunk in case it send too much data at once. Okay, what I notice here, I'm using right here, or using the pipe. Node can say, oh, my user, they cannot consume data too fast. So the Node.js is putting the data in memory and then sending them all at once, at one just call. So we're gonna see a lot of data into one single package. So there is no assurance that every yield will just go to the client at the end. Okay, so I'm just making sure that we're gonna have a break line in case Node just hold more than one item, and we can see all of them like on the same line and break, and we cannot parse it. Okay, well, on the server side, I think it's okay. I'm gonna put here just 400 just to make things more interesting, so we can see a lot of data coming here. So we are consuming and the numbers are changing. We can see what happens here. When we reach 600, it's gonna be break, right? It's gonna break. Perfect. After 600, we don't have anything to process anymore. But if we start again, it's gonna go with new items and keep new process running for new customers. Nice. Okay, so the server's ready. We're gonna need now to start working on our UI. Okay, to work with the UI, I got this one. This is the Blessed. This is a very nice package to use UIs on the terminal. I'm a backend developer. I love doing something on the terminal, and I think you're gonna love as well. So there's a lot of things here you can browse later, but we're gonna use the form. So with forms, we can create buttons and clickable buttons on the terminal. This is really crazy. At least for me, it's really crazy. Well, let's go back and let's install it, right? So I'm gonna use npm install blast, and I'm gonna use the current version, which is 0.1.1. Perfect. So I'm gonna create here a component builder.js. So I'm gonna use this file to use the design pattern builder. It's very nice to create complex objects. So first of all, let's import blast from blast. Okay, and then I'm gonna create just a class here called component builder. I will put in plural because all the components, all the screen will be in this class. So it's gonna be components. Nice. Well, looking at the screen, we're gonna have someone to build the string. Okay. And then we're gonna need someone to build the layout. It's the square that we're gonna plot our data there. Set layout components. Okay, so I'm gonna save the screen here and the layout also here. Perfect. To build the screen, we're gonna need the title. It's the name that's gonna be on our terminal title. And then I'm gonna say that our screen will receive the blast screen, and then the smart CSR and the title. The smart CSR, it's something for optimization, right? I don't remember, but I always put true as it's in the docs. Okay. Well, then we can attach some commands here to actually close the terminal if you want. So if you use ask or escape on your terminal, or kill or Control C, we're gonna call a function to process.exit 0. Okay, this will just unlock our process in the Node.js and free up our terminal. And then remember always to return this, so we can actually put more calls. If you haven't seen this design pattern yet, we're gonna see it in practice. Okay, just let's build this initial setup and then we're gonna see in practice. Well, the layout will receive the blast layout. It's like a div for us if you are into HTML. We're gonna say that the parent, it's our screen, everything is on the screen, and the width, it's gonna be 100%, and the height, the 100% as well. We're gonna fill our terminal with our layout and return this. Nice. Now I'm gonna create a UI.js file and we're gonna import the components builder. Just remember to put JS at the end, components equal new, and then look how nice is it. First, we're gonna set the screen and set a title. Maybe mastering Node.js strings. And then set layout. We won't set anything here, and it's just missing one function, which is the build. It's the glue. So we're gonna return an object. We can actually return and say that our screen is gonna be screen, and just it for now. Okay, so we call build, and now with the components we get the screen and we can render it on the screen. So I'm gonna use render. If I save it and we now run npm run start UI. Yeah, I haven't called this on the UI, right? So I'm gonna create a function here, render UI, and then we call it on the index. So export render UI, and then on the index we call it render UI. Just remember to put JS at the end. Well, now if we run, we can see that we cannot see anything here, but if I click on kill, it will end, or if I press the escape or ask, it's gonna close. So it's the setup is just this one. Okay, right now we're gonna build the other components we need there. All right, set screen is okay, set layout component is okay as well. And now we're gonna build our form. So our form, it's gonna be the buttons. So we're gonna have like a submit button and a cancel button. When the user clicking one, we're gonna have an event, and when we clicking another, we have another event. Okay, so set form component, and we're gonna have the on start and on end functions to make this happen. Okay, same thing, I'm gonna create a property here, and I'm gonna fill it with data. Okay, so let's create our form. It's gonna be from blast.form. We're gonna have the parent, it's our screen. I will enable keys, which means that we can use tabs to interact with our terminal. I'm gonna say it's gonna be on bottom, and the height is gonna be 20%. So if I save it, let's keep it running. I don't see anything yet because we haven't put the other data right here. Okay, what else? Well, we will need now to put the buttons, right? We have just the form, and I'm gonna have the start button, which is gonna be the blast dot button, and then I'll say that the parent is the form, and then you can use the mouse, you can use the keyboard. We're gonna use shrink, that I have no idea what this means. We're gonna format it with the padding left 1 and right 1. Okay, so we're gonna have the square and the buttons right in the middle. What else? We're gonna say that it's gonna be left 40%. We're gonna say that the name is submit. What else? The content is submit, such as type name and type value on the HTML. I'm gonna put some style on it, so the background it's white. When focus, I will say the background is green, so you can take a look at the docs later to check all the possibilities that you can use here. Well, and when I have some hover, I'm gonna also put it as green. Okay, if you move your mouse towards the terminal, you can see it's green. Perfect. Perfect. I'm gonna put this form at the end here to receive our form, and then I'm gonna return the form so we can see something in the screen. Okay, so on the UI, right before the screen render, we're gonna say the components form focus. Okay, so let's check it out. Undefine it. The components is not bringing our. Let's check it out. The builder receives the form. Our form is here, and the form is here being used. Components form. Let me print out what do we have on the components. Oh, we have screen and form. Form is undefined. So let's go to the build. why our form is undefined. Because we haven't called it, right? So here we should call it. So set form component, and on start we're gonna have a function console.log started, and on stop as well. On stop it. Just save it. You can remove the console.log now. Undefined on build. Maybe it's missing to return this at the end. Ooh, see, nice, isn't it? But we are not seeing the logs, right? But if we close, yeah, because the logs, it's in another side. Here we should plot the logs on the screen. Nice, but our submit button is there. Okay, so we're gonna do something similar with the stop. So let's put stop. So stop's gonna be 70% left. The name and content is stop. The style will be white, but when so you focus on click on it, it's gonna be red. Nice. Well, the last thing here, when someone press the start, we're gonna call our on start. This is maybe why our start and stop wasn't calling anything, right? And here on stop is here. On end, yeah, I will say on cancel, because the name we put here was cancel, right? Should be canceled. Cancel or stop? What do you prefer? I think cancel, because we're gonna cancel the operation, right? So cancel, and then on our function here, we just change to cancel. So let's see. Ooh, it's right there, right? Oh, we can see red, and now we can see the logs. Ooh, oh my God, we have actually a button on the terminal. How crazy is it, my friend? Nice. What else? Well, now we have the buttons working. We should have something to plot the whole information, right? So let's go back to the components builder. The form is okay. I'm gonna put just some spaces here, and I'm gonna put someone set data table component. So we're gonna plot all the data on a table right now, okay? Same idea. I will put here table. This table is the blast dot list. I'll put first a border with a line, so we can see a square there. I think if I save, no, maybe I should put this one here. It's gonna be table, this table, and now we already called from the UI. So after it, yeah, it's missing to return this. Well, I haven't seen any difference yet. I think it's because we haven't set the parent, right? But let's set all the other ones. So mouse true, keys true, top 0, so it's gonna be on the whole screen. Scroll bar, my God, we can have a scroll bar on our terminal. This is crazy, isn't it? And I'm gonna use inverse true, because on Mac is inverted the whole scroll, right? And I'm gonna put tags as true. So this enables us to put colors on the text. Okay. Well, after it, I'm gonna say which parent is it. It's gonna be our layout. I will align it to center. Ooh, What else? If I save it, ooh, I can see a small square here. What else? With it, it's gonna be 100%. If I save it, I can see the whole square there. And the height, it's gonna be 70%. So we can see our buttons here, and we have some spaces there. Well, in the items is where we put all the data. So I'm gonna put some title here, and I'm gonna use the tag. This tag is from Blast, right? So I'll put data. Well, if we take a look here, we can see that it's not render, right? Because it's tags on the plural. Nice, now it's bold. And now we can see our buttons working fine here. Nice, working fine, isn't it? Right now, we could try something. We can go back to our UI and say, when I click on the start button, I want to use the components, add, actually components.table.add item. Hey, and let's see what it does. So I'm putting here, and you can see all the information here. The console is on the logs there, but it should be also here. So you can see the stopped. So if I press submit, I am just unsure here because we are using the screen here. I think the form should be on the layout as well, right? Let's check it out. If I put on the layout first, maybe is the rendering order. What if I try putting the table first? Well, it disappeared. Yeah, I think we should keep it there. Yeah, so the parent is screen for the form as well. Okay, nice. Well, the last thing I want to do here is I'm using the add here, but if you take a look, like if I put here date.now, the new items are gone to the bottom, right? But I want to do something different. I want to enqueue these values. So I'm gonna create a new function here. Function add item to top. Add message on top. So we're gonna receive the components and the message. Okay, I'm gonna put this one here. So we're gonna have the components, and this one, yeah, we can let it right there, just empty. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna use the table, components.table, and then we're gonna grab the first item there. So it's gonna be table items.shift. Okay, the shift removes the first element because we need to keep the title, right? So I'm gonna save the type in the content, and after it I can actually grab all items and say table.items, and I want just to return the content because it's a big object. Okay, after it I can use table clear items to clean them all. I will add first to the table the add item. It's gonna be the content, right? So we put the title first on top, then we add the new message add item on the top, and after it we can interact with each items and add to the table. Okay, we can actually create here to bold message, so we can have the same behavior we have there. Okay, so here to bold, and here to bold as well. Well, after it, we have to call the screen and say that we want to render the object again. And here it's an item, okay? Save it, and let's see. I'll click it, and everything is there. So it's up to you to keep this one on bold or not. So I can remove it, put in another color if you want. Yeah, I think it's better without the bold, right? So we keep only the title in bold. So I'm gonna remove, oops, remove here, and I will keep only the title as bold. Perfect. Oh yeah, but we haven't tested, right? So if I put here, the 96 is here, 2 is before, 3, 9, it's going as we expected. Well, the last thing I want to do here is to create a log function so we can use from other layers. So function log. In our function log, it's gonna receive a message. Okay, and every message that we want to run, we're gonna use the add message on top. Okay, so we're gonna need the components one. So I'm gonna save the components as global. And let's say where we set it, we just set as components. So we won't need this one anymore. It's gonna be just the message. In here is the message. All right, and then I'm gonna export this log so we can use in further functions. So imagine that now, as I expected here, I have the render and I have the log here, right? So in the log, is log or logger? Log. I can say, hey, hello. So we can have hey, hello here, and we can actually add more data if you want later, okay? Well, now that our UI is ready to receive data, we can work on consuming data. Okay, I'm gonna close them all, and on our index I'm gonna start writing our code to consume the server. So I will keep the server running here, start server. Okay, so the server is running here, and we are gonna consume it without any framework. So I'm gonna save this URL. So const API URL. Don't forget to put the protocol HTTP, and I'm gonna call here. Let's put here so we won't have any problem. Create a new async iterator function, consume API. Okay, and we're gonna receive this signal. So the signal here is the same thing that we used in the last class to cancel the operation. So we are plotting all the data on the table. If the user press the cancel, it's gonna stop and avoid crashing everything. But if you click again, it will start grabbing data from the API on demand. Nice. I'm gonna grab the response from the fetch. So the native fetch is gonna use the API URL. And remember I said most of the APIs in JavaScript can allow us to use the signal. So we can use the signal right here. Okay, well, to consume this data, the fetch API returns us something similar to the generator API. So we can have the res from the response. I'm gonna put reader. It's gonna be the response.body.getReader, okay, to read the data as a readable string. But the readable string here, the fetch API is API from the browser, which we're gonna see in the next module. But here, the API, the signature is different than the Node.js APIs. So I'm gonna do something different here, okay? Well, now that we have the reader, we can use the read. So the read is gonna return a promise with the readable string default read result, which is a signature that returns us done and the value, okay? So I'm gonna run a loop here while, and I will create a function here, while done is false, okay? So if we are done, if there's nothing to process anymore, we cancel it. So the done receives our res.done, and if it's done, we're gonna break it, okay? Well, if it's working fine, we're gonna receive the data, and the data we get the value here, right? But the value is actually a uint array, which we cannot read, right? It's whether string, an object, or other kind of stuff. So to transform for the kind of object that we want to read, we just use buffer from. So we're gonna convert the uint array, the binary thing, to the buffer, okay? But just remember a thing on our, oh, I'm creating on the server, right? It's not on the server. So I'm gonna remove this thing because it's our index. Perfect. To consume the data, okay? So now we are parsing to buffer, but just a thing, remember on the server that I created here a break line. So if the Node.js is sending a lot of packages at the same time, we won't have how to break it. So right now, we're gonna split this data. So I'm gonna transform it to UTF-8, and then I'm gonna split it in the break lines. So now I have each object separated by the break lines. Even though on the first times the Node.js is safe, our application is consuming the data fast, but if the application says, oh, I cannot process this data so fast, Node.js on the server is gonna hold the data and then send them all at the same time. That's why we are splitting the data. Well, from it, we can get the item from the data, and now we can check. If the item is empty, we're gonna use continue and go to the next chunk, okay? If it's not, we're just gonna use our item. Just it, my friend. Let's check it out if we can consume our data from this thing. Well, I'm gonna create here a function, which is a async function called initialize. And the initialize will receive a signal, which we are not using yet, but we're gonna use. I'll put the try cat right here and do this the same thing we did in the last class. If the error.code is not the abort error, we can throw it right away, okay? Because if it's abortion, if something is a cancel operation, I know that we shouldn't crash. Nice. Now we have a iterator here, so we must convert it to our readable, right? So node string readable, and now we can use our readable. It's gonna be readable from await start consume API. I think this name is horrible, so I'm gonna call just start consuming, maybe, because we are start consuming or consume API. I don't know. I'm horrible with names. Well, with it, we can just take a look if the values are going well and if we receive the data as we expect, okay? So from here, actually, I'm gonna just do one last thing. I'm gonna import the pipeline from the string and just print out the result, okay? So await pipeline, it's gonna be our readable. The last thing is always the signal. And from the last class, we had a writable string, right? So we can just copy and paste it to check if our values are going well. Well, let's save it. I will just let the render UI here, but we need to pass the signal, right? So if I call the initialize here, I will need a signal. So let's create our abort controller, new abort controller, and then abort controller signal. Just it. Okay? Well, we are initializing our function. We are start reading our web string because the signature is different, but we are converting the web string to the Node.js string. So we should read the data as we've been doing in all chapters from here. Well, the server is running and fine, and let's run the start UI because, ooh, look at it, my friend. We are receiving the JSON object as we need, so we just need now to plot it on the terminal, right, on our screen. Perfect. I will let this running. Well, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say after I render the UI, I will send the initialize. Okay, and then I can remove it from here, and then on the render UI, on the UI side, render UI, we're gonna say initialize function, and then I'm gonna start the whole thing right here on the start. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, we're gonna call this, but we need this signal, remember? So up the top, I'm gonna create the abort controller because it's the UI who's gonna abort. So see that I'm splitting all the responsibilities right now. The UI is responsible to cancel the process, but it doesn't know the rules. It doesn't know that it's actually a string, okay? And I will put some control variables here to check whether it's active or not. Nice. Perfect. Well, on cancel, when you click cancel, I will say our active is false, and I will throw our abort controller. Okay, abort controller dot abort, and then the initialize, it's gonna receive our abort controller dot signal. Let's check it out if it's there. But yeah, we should initialize it, right? So I'm gonna create a function here because we're gonna need to reset it. Get controller, return new abort controller. So the first thing is to analyze or to start our abort controller with the object here. So I'm using the signal, but once you click the cancel, it's gonna just disappear. Okay, I'm gonna save it and I'll click submit. We can see, yeah, but the logs is crazy, right? I will actually omit these logs from here. Actually, we could do something better. On the writable thing, we could call it print, and then I'm gonna receive a log. It's gonna be a natural function, but it's gonna return a function with the string. So this way we create a closure, and this log we're gonna use to prepare our function. So the log here could be the log from the UI, and now we can see it working, right? So I'm gonna put the log there, the print is here, and the log is gonna be here. So this one we don't need anymore. Let's save it and let's save. So start UI, the submit started working. Ooh, that's amazing. And if I cancel it, everything stopped. Ooh, that's crazy nice. Nice, my friend. Just notice that the scroll bar here is big and we are keeping all the data in memory. So this is not a good practice at all. Let's try keeping our objects here with at most like 35 items. So max items visible, 35. Okay, I'm gonna use slice from 0 to max. Okay, so if I click here, we will always have at most 35 items. Okay, it will never break our code. Well, on start here, if we click a lot of times, we won't see problems, but we are just trying to... Actually, if I stop the process and click again, we should see everything working again, right? So let's implement it. So if it's already active, we just return it. We don't need to do anything else. Otherwise, we know that it was already aborted, so our abort controller must receive a new value. Okay, well, I want to do something more here. I want to put on the signal abort here to print out on our screen as well. So here it's gonna be add message on top, and the message would be, oops, bold, cancelled, or aborted your call. Okay, nice. Well, if I save it, I will click submit and I will stop it. Ooh, we can see cancelled and then everything working again. Oh, my friend, this is very nice. If you're consuming data and you want to allow your user to cancel and start all the process, you can use it as much as you want. And actually, this is pretty nice. You can see that the whole screen is not actually responsible, right? You can put more values, but you can see everything working. Nice. My friend, how amazing is it? So we just created a whole application that allows us to cancel operations, to get more data, and actually use the fetch API from the browser in the Node.js using the web streams, and then consuming data, parsing to Node.js streams, and so on. In the next modules, we're gonna use a lot the web streams as well, so you can start using this right away on the browser as well. Hey, don't forget to rate this class by clicking the star below. If you have any questions, you can use the comment sections or join our Discord channel to chat with other students. I'm sure they would love to help you out and learn from your questions too. I'm available to chat on our Discord channel anytime, so feel free to use it as much as you need it. A lot of people have even landed to new jobs because of the opportunities they found there. I hope this module has even met or even exceeded your expectations. I'm Eric Wendell, and I will see you in the next module.